I was initially just thinking about it for preschool, for our youngest daughter.
Like a lot of parents, I was skeptical. You know, what is Waldorf? I've never heard of it.
I was amazed. I was like, we get to come here. My daughter gets to come to this school.
There's something you really learn how to see.
I want to learn. I want to learn all sorts of things.
Their willingness to puzzle around some of the deep conundrums around mathematics and physics.
If here's the situation, what do we do about this? Like, let's sit down and think about this. What do we do?
Kids are discovering things that they're passionate about.
They're confident, they're strong, they know how to relate to people, they look you in the eye.
I met these kids and I said, I want one of those. That's what I want, is a kid like that.
They're 3D on paper, they're not just flat test scores.
You're taught to want to learn.
We didn't have the intention to look for a Waldorf school or a Montessori school. We started visiting preschools to try to get a sense of which preschool would be the best fit for our son.
The first time I came to Waldorf, I just remember the smells. It smelled beautiful.
Beauty is innate, I think, and so young children know it and they're drawn to it.
She didn't even turn around and say goodbye the first day. She was so ready to be here.
You just walk into these classrooms and imagining my son in those spaces and saying, oh, I could see this working.
When I think of early childhood, I think from 0 to 7. Then we have such very little time just to treasure movement and play and healthy rhythm and healthy routine.
The basis of Waldorf education is the understanding of the human being that comes through the work of Rudolf Steiner.
Everything we do in the classroom, from all the sewing, all the craft activities, all those things are fine motor skills, because at this age there's incredible brain development that takes place.
Do you mind if I could show you my Foxy?
I really like the way Waldorf approaches the developmental stage of the child and really looks to where the child is at and how they best learn.
I ran away from...
When I was really small in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, it was just magical, and there were these stories and there were these characters.
And the fox had said,
They were real kings and queens and princesses in my mind.
Every aspect of the curriculum that's introduced in each grade is brought based on a knowledge of how the child's inner life is unfolding at that stage.
This pairing of introducing the world with the developmental capacity means is the child is never overwhelmed, but always stretched.
And what were they doing then? Alberta, what happens in a Waldorf school is that the approach is artistic, and it is also rigorous.
In the Renaissance, you're supposed to be like a universal man.
The Waldorf approach is to really wait until they're ready for it, even hungry for it, and then when you introduce it to them, they take it up with enthusiasm rather than feeling pressured to go there.
And then you take some of it off. It's never really a command. It's never do this or do that or this is what you should think, ever. It's these are the possibilities. This is one way to look at it. What do you think?
So when you look to draw this, you try to capture the mood, you're working on the anatomy of the head and the angle. We're often asked as teachers about the paintings we'll do, and they'll say, well, they're all the same. The fact is, if you spend any time observing each one, you begin to see unbelievable differences.
When you have to write it yourself, illustrate it yourself, you take your personal pride in the product, because this is your work.
I remember every article or poem or essay I wrote because I drew a picture around it, and once we learned calligraphy, there was a calligraphy title and there were colorful borders, and it's really hard to forget information when you really can make it your own.
And every school book is different, it's personal, so they just create their own textbooks.
Yeah, this is how you learn math.
It instills in you a little obsession with beauty. I mean, everything needs to be aesthetic, and with that just comes a lot of pride in your work too.
You see, they can draw beautifully. Their writing skills, their science skills, their botanical drawing skills. Math and the physics and so on, plus the basketball, the volleyball, the social activism and all that kind of thing.
It was like cross-training. Because I was exposed to art at such an early age, and bringing that to a technical field like engineering really set me apart to come up with new ideas and to communicate those ideas.
That spark of creativity and of innovativeness.
On an intellectual level and on a physical level.
Really wanting to get this to work exactly the way I want it to work.
Learning that I can learn how to figure it out.
Okay, see this little dark bit right there?
What my daughter learned is to really focus in depth on what she's doing and pay complete attention to it, which is the way we perform best. And what I'm afraid other children are learning is that multitasking is the way to be, and current cognitive science says that's really going to hurt them in the long run.
As a father with a son here, I mean, I want him to develop, his physical abilities.
It's a very important part of the middle school curriculum. We like to win as much as anybody else. Good. And it builds pride in a class, and it builds pride in a school.
The way sports and athletics is offered here, it's done in a more balanced way.
I don't think that the sports department is more important than the music department. I think they're both equally important. I think 2 foreign languages and woodwork and handwork and gardening and sciences and language arts are just as important.
They put their physical energy to work in different ways.
And when they have that body energy that they don't know what to do with it, Porqué Waldorf says, great, we'll teach you.
Well, in the 3rd grade, we teach self-sufficiency. And with the shelter block, they learn about what people need to build a shelter. Why do they build shelters in a particular place? Why do they use the materials that they use?
A mud house from Botswana. Adobo, it's built in Papua New Guinea. It's a hobbit hole. A gangplank to get to the ferry. An Arctic igloo. It's made out of mud. Swiss lake house. Brazilian stilt house. An Indonesian tree house.
Drawing, painting, woodworking, gardening, sewing, knitting, it all ties into each other, and you see the interconnectedness of things.
Movement helps to integrate all the things that they're learning, because you don't only learn with your eyes and your ears and your head. You really learn with your whole body.
The biggest question that comes up is, what if you get a teacher you don't like? What if you get a child that you don't like?
You can't just not like your teacher and sort of sit in the back and get away with it.
You have to work through things. There wasn't like, oh, those cool kids, or you're not cool so you can't be friends, or ostracizing a girl for her looks.
Being able to look people in the eye and say, I disagree with you, but that doesn't mean we're enemies. That doesn't mean we hate each other.
The beauty of this curriculum is that you've made that commitment to go that much deeper.
The deeper the commitment, the deeper the respect and rapport that a teacher will have with a student, the better that student will do.
Who can make a declarative sentence?
As they get older, they become more interested in doing what you want them to do because of their love for what they're being taught. And in the younger grades, their love is more for the teacher who stands before them.
My children love their teachers, and the teachers love my children.
And when the teacher loves the child blossoms. And when the child loves the child can learn from the teacher. That's an essential ingredient in education.
The teacher becomes a representation of the best of humanity. And that is what the child is looking for.
Well, when I hear our class teacher talking about my daughter, I know that when she says, Katie's getting it or not getting it, she's talking about my daughter and what her individual capacities are, and not just any other 3rd grader.
It's a true partnership. I know that when a child is struggling, I can really have a frank conversation with their parents, and that we will work together to find a way to support their child.
In the beginning, I was quite jealous because Rudolf Steiner has given almost everything about the child to the teachers. When he talks about child development, he gave them a key. to how to heal through education, because education can make ill and education can heal.
We had this experience with our son Eli. He was very shy, and the other schools made us feel like this shyness was going to be a major problem. And Marin Waldorf School said, nope, Eli is going to come to the world in his own time. And if you just, let him come to the world, he will come. And he did come to the world. And I think it was because there wasn't this incredible pressure to make him do it when he wasn't ready.
These little bees were working so hard, making delicious honey.
What you see is this unfolding experience of leading the child into the world in a way that has patience about it, that has grace and space. And what you then see is a child when they graduate who can do remarkable things.
We're often asked as teachers, are you preparing them for the real world? Are they going to be able to get into this high school, that high school, this university? And I think we're selling ourselves short if that's all we're looking for. Because my answer would be yes, and more. People who can also think outside the box, people who can create new forms.
That first semester in high school was a time of having to adapt to a really different kind of learning, but I had learned how to learn really well.
Yes. They come to high school with a good sense of themselves, and I know they also know how to be in relationship with adults.
And they are prepared, I think, as thinkers and writers in ways that many other students aren't.
They don't just do the status quo, they'll go one step beyond, and there's too many kids that have the same test scores. We want to see students that kind of pop off the page.
I took my creativity and my initiative that I used as a child and said, I see something that could be created, and I'm going to use my imagination to picture a better world of something that we could create here in Shanghai.
It's not just on the level of development of the intellect, but it is this whole human being, this physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual component.
It's spiritual without being religious in the sense of organized religion.
It's not preaching morals to the children, but allowing them to find their own moral within different stories that they hear or different lesson situations that come up.
The values they're teaching the kids in the classroom is helping the parents keep those values at home, and I think we are making the world a better place.
What's most amazing about Waldorf is the true, genuine love that the teachers, the faculty, the parents, whoever it is that has this vision, it's what they have and what they wish for their children.
When all three were there, it was such a great feeling as a parent to know they're all safe in this school and they're all thriving.
When you see your child develop, they're interacting with the world, they're interacting with their peers, they're developing all different aspects of their self. That's how you know that you made the right decision.
There's not one person who dictates what Marin Waldorf is. There's not one person who dictates what even Waldorf education is. Marin Waldorf really is who's at Marin Waldorf.
You can tell there's something that's beautiful about it. But you can't really describe exactly what it is.
This incredible resilience, that's the word, resilience.
That's what I see in the older kids at Marin Waldorf School, and slowly but surely, that's what I feel like I'm seeing in our own children.
For me, it was the most tremendous gift that my parents gave me.
I will keep Jonah in this school because not only will it teach him to be smart, it will teach him how to work and use his hands and be productive, and it will teach him how to be fully human.
So why wouldn't you not want that for your kid?